Hi there, and welcome to the March edition of Simply Scuba Live, the show where we're going to be answering your questions live on air, as well as talking about the latest events and new products that come on the scuba market. Hi guys, I'm Mark. I'll be your host today. I'll be talking about all the interesting stuff that's happened in the scuba industry over the last month, and hopefully a few things that's going to be coming up in a few months to come. This edition, the March edition, we're going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be doing a good sort of news section where I'm talking about sort of new events and bits and bobs. Then I'm going to be going over some new products that have just arrived in store. And then after I've answered a few of your questions, I'm going to be doing a section on the Hollis Explorer Rebreather, just to kind of answer some of your questions, just to tell you what it's about, what it does, and try and get rid of some of the stigma about the sort of rebreather. Just because I can see them coming into the market and I can see them more and more popular. I just want to show you guys what it's all about. So first of all, I'm going to go to the news section. So your screen might go a little bit weird to start with, but bear with me. So, the March news. So this month, the UK government announced a brand new marine reserve in Pitcairn, which is right down in the South Pacific Ocean. This is going to be the largest marine reserve known to man so far. It's over 830, or it's nearly 835,000 square kilometers of continuous space that's going to be sort of looked after. So there'll be no fishing there. It's going to be pristine environment. This is where the mutiny on the Bounty sort of really occurred. So that's where you're looking. They've got nice sort of clean open oceans, and these islands themselves are home to over 1,000 species of marine mammals, birds, fish. So much like Ras Mohammed National Park down in Sharm el Sheikh, it's going to be a huge area where you're not going to be allowed to go there to fish or do any kind of damaging work. It's going to be a marine reserve just to look after the local wildlife. And what they're doing is they're actually using a lot of high-tech equipment and even satellite monitoring of all the boats and the activity in the area, and they're going to police it very, very well, just to keep it as fresh and tidy as possible. This was set up by the Pew Charitable Trust and National Geographic Society, and it's actually been funded by the Bertarelli Foundation, who have funded all of this surveillance and just monitoring for the next 5 years. So this is a really big sort of step forwards as far as marine conservation. They're really starting to open their eyes and kind of look after certain areas. The next news item is there was a volcanic eruption on this small sort of south. Again, it's the Southern Pacific, the small island chain. It started off. This was originally the islands. This is what they used to look like, and then there was a volcanic eruption that has actually created a brand new island system here. Now the locals, they've been sort of experimenting. They've been walking over it. They say it's still quite hot, funny enough, soon after the volcanic eruption, but that's just quite exciting. I just thought that was very interesting. Brand new island system here. When that settles down, hopefully the coral reef might start to increase, and that will attract local wildlife and just create more exciting places to go diving. Next up, down in down in Bristol, the Sevenside Sub-Aqua Club have sort of uncovered a wreck that's been lost since the First World War. This is the SS Baigitano, and it was sunk by a U-boat on the 18th of March 1918, so almost 100 years ago to the day. It was on its way from France to Cardiff when it was torpedoed, and the Sevenside Sub-Aqua Club, they sort of adopted it when they found it, and they've been doing sort of 3 years of meticulous examination, just taking underwater photos, recording everything, just trying to get everything that they can on the record. It's a beautiful wreck just off of Bristol. The Seven-Side Sabbatical Club, because of this, they recently won an award for their archaeological efforts. They've put a huge amount of effort into cataloging everything and just looking over everything. It's a really beautiful wreck. And they're actually planning a commemorative dive next year on the 18th of March at the exact time when the boat was torpedoed and it sunk. So I think that's very nice. If you're interested, give them a contact, just show your interest, and that'll be a really nice sort of commemorative dive just to recognize them. They're also trying to contact the families of the 2 people that died when the ship went down, and they're putting a lot of effort into just finding out all the information they can about this wreck. Scuba industry news. This is about one of our suppliers, Apex. They've in the UK, they're trying to make a really big move towards being greener. They're thinking about the environment. What they've done is they've added over 400 solar panels to the top of their UK warehouse. So so they're praying for a really bright summer, but this is a really nice sort of gesture for one of the big manufacturers. They're trying to go green. They understand that the environment is an issue. So so yeah, they're going solar. I think that's a really nice touch. Earlier this month, we created a new app for iPhones and Android users. So so anything sort of scuba related, anything on our website, you'll be able to browse on your phone. It'll be much more user friendly as opposed to a website that they've tried to cram down to the size of a smartphone. This one is specifically designed to work with your phone. And we put a lot of work and effort into our website as well as our mobile website. And this will be really, really good. If you could download this and you can just cruise the website, you can watch our videos and just browse all the different products to your heart's content. We've also added, I think there's 10 new packages, which are, we've been going over the new equipment this season, and we put together all these different packages. They come in 3 different classifications. We have the open water packages, traveler packages, and the master packages. Now we come out with a sort of gold, bronze, silver system. So you can have the open water gold, the open water bronze, or the open water silver. And how we've classified them is the open water comes with the Scuba Pro X1 BCD, which is a very nice entry-level BCD. It's very, very strong, tough as nails. The color is very, very good. What they actually do, instead of using a nylon fabric that they then color, they actually impregnate the nylon fibers with a black pigment to start with, so they don't go brown and dingy. I actually used to use Scuba Pro X1 BCDs when I used to teach in the swimming pool, and these BCDs would be used day in and day out, and they lasted for years at least without discoloring. They are very, very tough, nice and lightweight. They come with an optional integrated weight system. So if you just want to buy this BCD, you want a standard BCD like the one that you learned to dive in, go for that, and then you can upgrade and put integrated weight systems into it later if you want. Then we move up to the traveler packages. These ones have the lighter weight BCDs. So these BCDs, like the Scuba Pro Traveler we have there, or the Equator BCD, they use much lighter fabrics and much lighter materials. And these are designed for the traveling diver, for when you want to use your own equipment, but you don't want heavy equipment that's going to weigh down your baggage allowance. And then we go up to the top notch, the master packages. These use the Scuba Pro X Black, which is a really tough as nails BCD, fully features and really, really strong materials, heavy materials. The X Black can even take twins if you want to move on to twins at any stage. It is a sublime jacket. We've worked out the prices on these, so they're nice and competitive. We've given you a bit of discount on all of these, and there's so much choice depending on what kind of diving you want to be doing. We've been trying to come up with as many different variations as possible. This is a new project that we've been looking at. We're trying to come up with ideas for Simply Scuba t-shirts that we can sell to you guys. These are just the few that really sort of stood out for us. We've come up with a lot of others, but these were the 4 main contenders. Now, don't worry too much about the colors. We're just sort of thinking of ideas right now. We want to know whether you like the designs, whether you like the colors, whether you want t-shirts or polo shirts. It's really what you guys want. We want your feedback as much as possible. We put it up on the Facebook page. We got a lot of very good feedback. We've made a few design tweaks to one of the t-shirts because of that. But we want to know what you guys want. Your opinion is very important to us. We want to create something that you guys would want to wear. We're looking at bringing out as many different designs as possible, and just depending on what color tends to be the most important or preferable, sorry, that will probably be the one that we end up going with. So if you like the blues or you prefer a red, just let us know. These aren't final designs. These are just the drawing boards. We want to know what you guys want to see. And that's it for for the March news. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go quickly over some new products. So, first of all, something turned up on my desk a few hours ago, which I'm quite excited about. If you've ever been, if you're a Nitrox diver, or you've been on a liverboard or a day boat where people are using Nitrox, you would have seen a Nitrox Analyzer. Now, traditionally, most people tend to use the Analox sort of O2 E2. They're the most popular, they're the most accurate out there. I used to use them all the time. Incredible pieces of kit. They've just brought out a new version, which is this, which is the O2 E2 Pro. The old version was more of a sort of Ninja Turtle green with a yellow belly here. This is a much sort of smarter design. It's exactly the same size and function as the old one. You still use an O2 analyzer or an O2 sensor that goes inside here. You can sort of hold that against the cylinder valve, open up the cylinder valve, and it tells you the reading on the top. Exactly the same functioning. You've got the calibration dial here, and you've got the on-off button here. Actually, it's just an on button, and then if you press it again whilst you're analyzing the cylinder, that actually holds it at the measurement. What they've done with this, the main difference is this section here. What they've done on this dome, you can still use it as normal. You can hold it over the cylinder valve, but they've actually added an extra section because whenever I used to do it, you just end up setting your kit up so quickly and you just forget to analyze your cylinder. So you've got to break it down again, you've got to waste more gas, and then you've got to test it, and then you've got to build your kit back up again. So what they've added is this little nozzle here. This nozzle, you can connect to a silicone tube, and then that will connect to your low pressure inflator over your left-hand shoulder. So you can connect all your BCD, you can be fully kitted up, disconnect your low pressure inflator, connect that up, and that will, with a flow rate limiter, that will pass the air from your cylinder over the oxygen sensor, and it will give you that, it will analyze your gas. So, so that's very, very useful, very clever. And of course it's replaceable, so you can just buy that as a separate part, and you can unscrew these and replace these if they do get worn out. So, so that's quite nice. Analogs are just sort of making little upgrades, just making it as nice as possible for you. Another few things that have turned up. You've got the 2 new. There's going to be 4 of these. These are the Marez EOS RZ torches. Now these are coming concurrently with the old EOS torches, but what these have is they have a rechargeable battery, and they also have a zoom function as well. So these torches, when you turn them on, of course they're nice and bright, and then you can zoom them from either a spotlight to a nice wide angle beam. So, so that's a really nice feature. Another good feature is when you unscrew it, the base is attached by a bungee to this black plug here. Now this black plug, you connect with a USB charger. It's got a little charging light there as well, so you know it's charging. And that's how you charge the rechargeable battery on the inside. So I really, really like that. It's going to be really good for liverboards. And yeah, as I said, you've got 4 different varieties. This is the 4 RZ. So this is the sort of third most powerful. We've got the little brother, the 2RZ. This is a tiny little pocket torch. So nice and small. That'll just fit in your pocket, but still, it's got a nice, powerful. I think this is about 200 lumens. I might be wrong. Have a look at the product page on our website, and just nice, very, very lightweight. It's all anodized aluminium, which means it's corrosion resistant. You've got double O-ring seals, nice, simple magnetic push switch, and they're just really nice little torches. So that'll be great for a pocket torch. This is more of a backup torch, just a bigger brother to the 2RZ. You're also coming out with the 12, and I think it's the 7, which are just that little bit more powerful than that. If we stay on torches, we're just getting the range of the FinSub umbilical lights. Now, FinSub make very, very strong, powerful underwater lights. They make umbilical torches like this, and they also make the short version, which is fully contained, so you don't get the umbilical. The battery is sort of set into the torch itself. Umbilicals, you have the battery, and that straps to your cylinder on the back, and this umbilical just trails up around your arm, and then you hold on to the torch with the Goodman handle. Now, the benefit of this is that you can have a nice big battery, which has a nice sort of long charge. I think this is the 1400 Smart. This can have a burn time of up to 48 hours. So hours and hours. Even at full burn, I think it's still got about 2 hours. So 3 different settings. You've got the 1400 lumens. I think then it goes down to 700 lumens and then 200, I believe. Very, very powerful, lots of battery life, and just a simple twist on and off. This one hasn't got any battery charge in it, but they are super powerful. And what they've done is in Finlight, they use very, very good materials. Anodized aluminium, which is coated. The glass, they say, is borosilicate, which is the same thing that they use in like boiling tubes and Pyrex jugs and whatnot. So it's highly temperature resistant. So when you've got all that 1400 lumens just pushing out, if you just had normal glass, that would probably just melt just because of the temperature. Whereas this borosilicate glass is much stronger, much better for it. So they're really nice. They're very strong. They're very powerful, and we're holding those in stock. Let me just put that down. Also, just in, we've got these are very, very popular. These are the Aqualung Argonaut dive knives. When I first got these, they're made out of titanium, but when you pick it up, to be honest, it feels like plastic because it's so light. There's nothing to it. You don't notice it. When you normally get a dive knife of this size, you can normally feel the weight, whereas this weighs nothing. Because it's titanium as well, doesn't corrode, there'll be no rust, and it's also got a this black coating, again, which helps with the corrosion resistant. Comes in 2 versions. This is the Spartan tip, so this is the pointed version. It also comes with a blunted chisel tip. Pardon me. So both versions feature a long straight blade that's used for cutting, and then you do have the serrated blade, which is for cutting your sort of nylon ropes and something a bit stronger. The handle itself, they've wrapped it in 5mm paracord. So this is really nice and comfortable to hold on to. You can take it off if you want. Underneath there, they do have some hex sections cut out. So for whatever reason, if you did need to undo some small bolts, you can use that as an emergency wrench. It comes in a nice sort of plastic sheath, again with the leg straps, and then you can have the additional leg holster as well. Very, very nice dive knife. That will be popular with the guys. Yeah, they're just selling really, really well, really quickly. We also have some Tusa masks and snorkels. Tusa have added, well, this has kind of been on their range for quite a while now. I think we spoke briefly about it last month, but I really wanted to hammer home this one, just because the number of people that I would teach, and they don't like water around their nose. Nobody likes water around their nose. But what this mask does, this is the Imprex 3D. At the base here, it has a purge valve at the bottom of the nose. And what that does is when any water collects inside your mask, it's going to collect in front of that purge valve, and all you do is just breathe out through your nose, and that water will purge out of the bottom. No more do you have to touch the top to your forehead and look up and breathe out through your nose. All you do is just look down, breathe out through your nose, and it comes out of the bottom. Nice. And you've got these huge windows, nice amount of light. That can be one thing with some masks. You'll get a feature that will only be on one mask, but it will have like naff lenses or a horrible frame. But what they've done is they've given this nice big open frame, and they've also added side windows as well. So you get this huge peripheral vision, huge vision on the front. So that's very good for taking photos. Nice big open lens. Really, really nice mask. They've complemented that with the Elite 2 snorkel. Now they've improved their snorkels with this. At the top, you have the dry valve technology. What this features is a little float that as soon as you go under the water, if you're just snorkeling, this little float will lift up whenever it's submerged, and it just seals the top of the snorkel there. What that does is it stops water from traveling into the tube and coming down to your mouth. So if you're duck diving or you're just swimming around and a big wave sort of comes up and over you, that will lift up, block the top, and stop any water from entering the snorkel. Very comprehensive splash guard as well. Again, any waves come in, they're going to hit the splash guard and they're just going to deflect away from that opening. Down at the bottom of the snorkel, they have this nice large water trap. So if your mouth is up here, you have all of this area to trap water in. So if any small amounts of water comes in there, it's going to get trapped down there. As soon as you breathe out through your mouth, it's going to come out of the purge valve at the bottom. So this is why they're calling it the Hyper Dry Elite 2, just because it's completely dry. If any water gets in, it's incredibly unlikely that water is going to get into your mouth. Very, very nice mask and snorkel set. I like those. Okay, so now I'm going to answer a few of your questions. So the first one comes from Anthony via email, and he wants to know what is the major difference between the Fourth Element Arctic and Halo 3D? Do you wear garments under either of them? And if so, why is there such a big price difference between them? Okay, so so years and years ago, Fourth Element brought out the Fourth Element Arctic, and it is everywhere. It's so popular. I use them myself. They're an incredible dry suit undersuit. They're a very impressive dual layer material that wicks water away from your body very, very quickly and insulates it very nice without being too bulky. You can get these big undersuits that are just full of like flocking, and you've got just so much sort of fluff about them. Whereas the Argonaut, the Arctic, it's very, very thin material. So you can wear it under a neoprene dry suit or a membrane dry suit. What they then did is they've been experimenting with all different ways. All Fourth Element do is they make exposure protection. And they do it very, very well. So, so a few years ago, they came out with the Fourth Element Halo 3D, which uses biomapping. Now, biomapping analyzes all the different sections of your body, analyzes where heat is lost easily, and where it needs to be kept to keep your body functioning properly. So all the chest area, around the back, the kidneys, and the front of your thighs, they have this this improved material, which is a 2-layer material, and in between it's like a honeycomb of all lots of different fibers, which when compressed, it resists, so you cannot compress it. So all over your front, you have this continuous layer of air all around your front side. So when you're lying horizontally in the water, you've got all of your weight, you've got your cylinders or your stages pressing down on it. So anything underneath is going to be compressed. What this material does is it ensures there's a constant layer of insulating air around all your important internal organs. So so it's very, very efficient. It's used by sort of Arctic divers and sort of cave explorers. It's a very, very efficient undersuit, and just all of the specialist materials and the and all the research that's gone into it makes it the most, or one of the most efficient undersuits that now I know of, and that's why there's a bit of a price difference, just because it's that much more efficient. So depending on what kind of diving you're doing, what kind of dry suit you're wearing, you can't go much better than the Fourth Element Halo 3D. In this country, I tend to use the Arctic. I was even using the Arctic under my neoprene dry suit when I was up in Norway in the Arctic Circle, and the water temperature was about 2 degrees. So they really do work in cold water. They are well worth the price tag. Michael in Discuss wants to know about the Aqualung Axiom BCD. He says, hi there. Does the power inflator hose act as a dump valve on this BCD? So the Aqualung Axiom comes in 2 versions. You get the i3 version, and you also get the traditional version. The i3 has the little switch on your left-hand side, but he's talking about the regular version, which has your traditional low-pressure inflator over your left-hand shoulder. It'll have an inflate button, a deflate button, which, same as usual, lift it nice and high above your head, press the deflate button, that'll deflate. It'll also have a pull dump function. So if you hold on to that low pressure inflator, tug it down, there's a small steel cable on the inside of that corrugated hose that leads up to the valve on the top of your left-hand shoulder. As soon as you tug down on that, that opens up that purge valve, and all the air that's collected underneath it will vent. So yes, it does have a dump valve via the power inflator. Duncan via Discuss wants to know about lava core socks. He says, can I use the socks, then put my boots on top? Yes. This is what lava core socks are designed for. Any water sport. It doesn't have to be scuba diving specifically. The lava core was designed for any kind of surface water sport. So whether you're on jet skis or you're sailing, anything to do with water, it's incredible fabric. It has a 3-layer design. It has a wicking inner layer. It has a semi-permeable membrane in the middle. Then it has a water-resistant outer layer. So, yeah, these are perfect for putting underneath your wetsuit boots. Just if you get cold feet whilst you're diving, yeah, the lava core range is incredible. One of my dive masters, I know he uses that as an undersuit for his dry suit. Yeah, it's incredible, the lava core. It's hypoallergenic as well. So if you react to neoprene, lava core is a really good sort of internal layer just to separate you from the neoprene. Or you can wear it by itself. It acts as like a 2.5–3 mil neoprene. Yeah, really nice material. Lily via email says, with my fins, do I need to go up or down at any sizes, or should I just go with my standard shoe size? So I presume with this, she's talking about full foot fins. With full foot fins, if you're just going barefoot, you need to stay with your own shoe size. You don't need to go up or down any. It's just good to make sure that you know your exact shoe size, because sometimes it varies. It's always best to try them on, obviously. But yeah, go for your shoe size. If you're wearing lava core socks or something, then you need to, and you might have to go up a size, but I wouldn't go up too much because lava core is quite thin. So yeah, stick to your shoe size if you're just going barefoot. Phil Grinus, who I recognize, he's becoming one of our regulars. He's asked on Google+, hi Mark, hi Phil. I've just started diving a few years ago, and now is finally the time to get my own diving gear. So my question is, what regulators could you recommend for warm and cold water use? So regulators tend to go in 2 main categories. Now with EN 250 2014 standards, they have to meet certain standards to be designed or designated as cold water regulators. So so any of those packages that we were looking at earlier, all the Scuba Pro regulators are very, very good. Scuba Pro make very nice regulators. You can't get much better. They focus a lot on the airflow and just the efficiency of the air. They've just added their XTIS, their Evo range, to the Mark II and to the Mark 25, which further improves the cold water performance. My advice as an instructor is this is life support equipment. This is what's keeping you alive underwater. So you don't want to go for cheap regulators. I mean, nobody really makes any bad regulators because they have to go through all these different tests, but I'd recommend going for a nicer set of regulators, sort of as good as you can afford. Because if you're diving and they feel a little weird or they're breathing a little weird, then you know. If you're hiring equipment, you're just using it for the week. You don't know when it was last serviced. You don't know who last used it. You don't know whether it was washed. No, I'd far rather use my own equipment. It's so easy nowadays. They're also lightweight as well, so they're perfect for travel. If you're using them in the UK, yeah, I'd be happy with the Scuba Presetter Mark 25 S600. They're a very, very nice set of regulators. We just added some new packages, the Oceanic Zeo packages, which is a very nice cold water regulator. They're environmentally sealed, which means that all the water and the salt can't get in. They're environmentally sealed, they're cold water rated, but they're nice and lightweight, so you can travel them abroad. And because they come in a package, it comes with the alternate, the Octo, and it comes with a set of gauges as well. So that's worth looking into. When you're buying regulators, just remember that the low pressure inflator hose will only come with a BCD. The low pressure inflator hose comes free with any BCD, but if you buy just a set of regulators, you'll only get the primary, the alternate, and the and the gauges and the first stage, obviously. You don't get a low pressure inflator hose. So it might be worth looking at getting regulators and a BCD. Then what you need to look at is what kind of diving you're going to be doing. A lot of BCDs are quite good crossovers, like the Aqualung Pro HD. I'll be happy using that in the UK, but I'd be happy traveling that abroad. The Scuba Pro Equator, I'll be happy using that abroad and back in the UK. So there's a lot of crossover. As far as regulators, I'd have a look at just cold water regulators, because if they're rated for cold water, they'll be fine in warm water. And also try and look for environmentally sealed. It just makes cleaning them up just much, much easier. Okay, that's the end of the first section of questions. I've got a few that I'll answer after the next presentation. So this, I'm going to be talking about the Hollis Explorer Rebreather. So let me bring it up now. This came out a couple years ago, and I'm seeing it more and more around dive sites. I've got my ticket to use one. They're very, very nice and very, very easy to use. And the main thing is that there's a bit of a stigma around sort of rebreathers. People think that they are technical, they're confusing, they're beyond them. But actually, no, these are so simple, even to the point where Hollis are trying to avoid calling it a rebreather. They want to try and reclassify it as a recirculator. All it really does is it just recirculates nitrox. So all it is just a small cylinder on your back that you breathe, and you have a gas sort of panel on your back, just analyzing what you're breathing at any seconds. And it's just a really nice, easy, lightweight system to use. So yeah, so this is the Hollis recreational semi-closed rebreather. Semi-closed is a classification on rebreathers. You get closed circuit and semi-closed. Closed circuit are, as the name suggests, completely closed. So there are no bubbles whatsoever. Semi-closed, there are no bubbles in front of you, but occasionally you do get some that come out from behind the unit, which makes this unit very, very good for photographers and anyone who wants to get nearer to wildlife. One thing that I found whilst I was doing my course is you could get so close to the local wildlife. The fish are not bothered. Fish, they despise open circuit divers because we are noisy creatures. All we do is we blow bubbles and we inhale and we exhale, and we sound like Darth Vader underwater. What the rebreather does is, because it's not under positive pressure, you don't get any bubbles. It's a really nice sort of clean way of diving. Another thing with it is, because it's not sort of positive pressure, your buoyancy doesn't change. So if you take a really nice deep breath on open circuit, you're going to float, aren't you? On a rebreather, nothing happens. You stay perfectly horizontal in the water. To change your buoyancy, you kind of swim up or you swim down, or you can use your BCD. Once you're neutrally buoyant, doesn't matter how much you breathe, you will stay perfectly in position in the water. They're an amazing unit, very, very clever. And I'm just going to do a quick sort of breakdown on it and tell you guys how it works in a nutshell. And if you want to, I will sort of expand on it, just sort of look into the individual parts and just show you how it all works. So on the inside, this is a basic diagram of all the different components of the Hollis Explorer. So where it starts from your concerns, is you have a 5-litre cylinder down at the bottom. Now this is very, very small. It's only 5 litres, but you can use this as a bailout. What that does is that has just a regulator, very standard first stage, and that leads up to your bailout valve here. And this is what goes in your mouth. So on it, it has a second stage, and then you breathe air from that cylinder. As soon as you have air in the loop, you exhale, and your exhaled air, on open circuit, normally it would just bubble out and just be lost and wasted. Normal air that we breathe is about 21% oxygen. When we exhale, we only exhale about anywhere between 16 to 18%. So we're wasting a lot of oxygen. And that's what rebreathers do. They recirculate that air and they don't waste that sort of 18% oxygen that would normally be exhaled. That 18% gets sent down this hose pipe over your right hand shoulder, and it goes down to the rebreather on your back. First of all, it waits in this counter lung. And what that counter lung does is it stores the air, and there are 2 counter lungs. I'll go into them a bit later, but they have the exact same volume of volume as your lungs do. And what it does is, after it's there, what it does is it gets passed through the scrubber section here, and that's what removes all of the carbon dioxide that you exhale. It gets passed through there, it goes into the inhale counter lung, and this is just kind of storage for when you want to breathe it. It gets passed over oxygen and carbon dioxide sensors, and then it gets passed back to you and back to the bailout valve, and then you breathe it in again, and the same thing circulates. So that's how it basically works. Now I'm going to go into each individual part. So it starts off with the cylinder. So the cylinder on the Explorer is a 5-litre cylinder, and that's only filled up to 232 bar of pressure. This can go up to 40% nitrox. The higher the nitrox concentration, the better. Now, the benefit with this, a 5-litre cylinder down on a normal dive, down to about 30 meters, I couldn't make it last that long, maybe 20 minutes at a push. There's really not that much volume in it to breathe from. And this is where the main benefit of the rebreather comes into. That 20 minutes on a rebreather becomes 2 hours. When I was doing my course, I was regularly using a 5-litre cylinder with 40% nitrox, and I was getting 2-hour dives out of it. And that's just incredible. This is where it starts to pay for itself after time. And that's where it starts. That's your cylinder. The cylinder is connected to your bailout valve. Now, your bailout valve is the mouthpiece. This is it from the front. And what it has is it has a second stage regulator. And out of it, just like any normal second stage, you get the regulator hose that fits into here. You've got the purge button on the front, so you can breathe from the cylinder directly as if it were open circuit. So this is very similar to the Oceanic Zeta regulator, if any of you remember that. It was a nice, small, pneumatically balanced, sort of tiny second stage. And they've attached it to the bottom of the breathing loop. Now this lever here is what, this lever here is what adjusts the rebreather from open circuit to semi-closed. So, so when you're breathing from the loop, you have it up here, and that way the loop is closed. So you're just rebreathing. If ever you're unsure, or something goes wrong, you can just flick that switch down, and you're breathing directly from the cylinder. So it's just the same as open circuit. So that's a nice sort of bailout valve, which is why they call it the BOV, the bailout valve. After that, as I said, it goes to the counter lungs. Now, the counter lungs are the clever point. This is what holds your buoyancy perfectly neutral. So as you inhale, you've got a certain volume of air in your lungs, about 2 liters, give or take. When you exhale, all of that ends up in the counter lungs, and the volume hasn't changed at all. It's all in that circuit, so your buoyancy doesn't change at all. It's just what makes it perfect for photographers and just nice, easy, chilled out diving. Because it's a semi-closed rebreather, it does have a one-way valve. So if ever you have too much air, you feel you're breathing too much, if you exhale a bit more than your normal tidal airflow, this one-way valve will open and it will vent some excess gas. And that's where the bubbles, it will just come out from behind your shoulders. And you can adjust it. The Explorer is a very adjustable unit. It has a floating set point, and it's you can adjust it to your heart's content to how you like to dive. And that's one of the settings, is basically how much sort of tidal airflow you have. So once the air goes through the first counter lung, it gets passed through the CO2 scrubber. Now the CO2 scrubber is this canister here, and in there you put softener lime. And what softener lime is you they use it in submarines. All it does is it binds to carbon dioxide, and it just scrubs it out of the air. So as you exhale, all that carbon dioxide that you're exhaling gets captured and stored in here. Now, a lot of rebreathers, you time it. So these canisters, they have about a 2-hour life system. So you can only use it for about 2 hours. And a lot of it's a bit of potluck. So a lot of people, they time it and they guess it and they guesstimate. What Hollis have done is they've added a lot of very clever electronics, which are here, and this temperature wand, which goes right down the middle of the CO2 scrubber. Now the CO2 scrubber, as it works, its temperature changes. So you can actually measure how much scrubber time you have left based on the temperature of the scrubber. After it's gone through the scrubber, it then passes over oxygen and an optional carbon dioxide sensor. Now this is very important because, again, if the scrubber doesn't work, or one of the seals is broken, then the CO2 sensor will alert you and telling you to bail out and get some fresh air. What the oxygen sensors do, there's 3 oxygen sensors in this, there's a lot of redundancy, is they analyze the gas. So it will say, oh, okay, you're breathing 18%. And then what it can do is it can add extra air from the cylinder, so 40%. It'll add a small puff of air into the loop just to up that oxygen content. And that's how rebreathers work in a nutshell. They just supplement whatever oxygen you breathe in, and they just supplement it just to get it back up to 21% or whatever you need it set to. Very, very clever electronics. This is where the main benefit of the rebreather comes in. This graph is taken from Hollis themselves, and they're comparing 4 different types of diving and what the different limitations are. The first one, which is this kind of grey purple line, is just air. So this is a traditional cylinder just filled with atmospheric air, so about 21%, and they're going down to 30 meters. So you go down to 30 meters and you swim it along, and then you reach your no decompression limit. So or your gas, depending on how fast you breathe. So you are very, very limited as far as how long you can stay down at those kind of depths. Then they've compared it to enriched air nitrox, 36%. You go down again because you're on 36%. You have a longer no decompression limit, but because you're down there, you still got the same volume. So now your gas is your limiting factor. You're running low on air. Then they compare it to a traditional semi-closed rebreather, where it starts off where your no decompression limit is limited initially, so then you shallow up, but then the gas is limited because a lot of the semi-closed, the original semi-closed, they have a fixed flow rate. So they'd always just sort of give you, you didn't have the same oxygen sensors, they just give you a sort of almost continuous flow of that 40% just to supplement what you're breathing. The Explorer is a smart rebreather, semi-closed. So what it does is it analyzes, and you can also set the limiting factor. If you want your if you want a extended no decompression limit, you can set it to sort of focus on keeping you down deeper for longer. If you want to focus on your actual bottom time, you can set it to focus on air conservation, and you can do that in the water. You can change it. It's normally on automatic, where it just kind of works out the best ratio, but you can set it depending on where you want it, and that actually extends your bottom time dramatically. So so it's a really clever concept. This is the computer. You get an integrated computer, and that also connects to a heads-up display that's on your BOV. You get these three little lights that just alert you to whatever you need. This connects to electronics, and you just wear it on your wrist like a standard wrist computer, and you have two simple push buttons, one on either side. Nice, really clear display, especially in British waters. They're just nice, clean. You've got a very black background and bright figures that come out. Now this screen here is your sort of very standard dive screen. This is what you see when you're diving, and it has all your different sort of limiting resources. What it does is, on the main one, it tells you your most limiting resource in minutes. So on this screen, the most limiting resource is the filter, so the CO2 scrubber. It says I have 89 minutes dive time left, so that's fine. As I'm diving along, that may change, and it might be my oxygen percentage or my no decompression limit drops below that figure. It will then circle, it'll then come across, and it will tell you what my new limiting factor is. Or you can just cycle through them by pressing one of either two of the buttons. So it's nice, very user-friendly, very simple to use. Along the top here, you have all the different sections. So you've got, I've got a nice battery life. All of my oxygen sensors are working. My cylinder's got lots of air. I'm on Nitrox 40. The loop is completely sealed, and the scrubber's got plenty of time. So it's got all the different factors there. Here we have, during your pre-dive, your setup, we have, as you can see, nice, easy to read instructions, and they're very user-friendly. So when you're evacuating the loop, you suck into the loop, your instructor will teach you how to do this, and the bar chart will go up, and it's very reactive. It's nice, easy to use. And this section, again, is, again, through the pre-dive safety check. It's just going over the CO2 filter, and it's just asking, have you fitted a new filter? It's going over the temperature and how efficient it is. Pricing. One big thing that people talk about is, it's expensive. But I was pricing it up against a twin set or a side mount set, and actually, okay, the rebreather itself, with the cylinder included and everything you need, it costs just under £4,200. As far as twin sets go, you can quite easily spend 2 or 3 grand on a twin set, which is fine. It's open circuit, you know how it works, but considering you're using a 5-litre cylinder that you fill with 40% nitrox, you fill that up against 2 12-litre singles, which is basically 2 hours of diving. 40%, that's going to be radically more expensive. So over time, it's actually going to be cheaper to use the rebreather than actually open circuit. So I can see these becoming more and more popular as time goes on. And at Simply Scuba, we offer 0% finance on it over 12 months. So actually it works out really, really cheap. It's only 12 monthly payments of £314. So it's a really, really nice unit. Obviously it's not quite the same as open circuit. You need training first. If you buy a unit, we can send most of the unit, but the bailout valve and the electronics we have to send to your instructor, just because you can't have a completely assembled rebreather unit if you're untrained. If you have training, if you have the certification, that's fine. Any questions about training or whatnot, pop us an email or pop us a phone call or come visit us in store. You can have a chat with me. You can have a look at the unit as well. We've always got one on display. Yeah, any questions, just let us know. And that's the Hollis Rebreather. It's I really like it. I'm looking at getting one myself. I'd be quite happy traveling with that abroad. It's nice and lightweight. It's not very big neither. A lot of girls and women, they can sort of think that it kind of puts them off because it's so big and cumbersome, but actually no, it's tiny. It fits on your back. It's not cumbersome. It's not heavy at all. Again, you've only got a 5-litre cylinder on your back and some electronics. So instead of a big heavy twin set, if you've got back problems, this is the way to go. You want this rebreather. Okay. So I've got a few more questions and I've got a few minutes left, so I'm going to answer as many as I can, and then I'm going to talk about next month's show. So the first question comes from Harry Godwin Austin. He wants to know, is it worth spending the money on a good first stage or the equivalent price for a really good BCD? Personally, I'd spend more money on my regulator than my BCD. The regulator is what's keeping you alive. This is what you breathe from. You want to make sure that's the best that you can have. So yeah, I'd invest a lot more money in my regulator than my BCD. A BCD, I'd be quite happy just with a simple wing and a harness. I don't tend to put stuff in pockets. I don't tend to use very much on a BCD. When you get to a certain level and you're weighted properly, you don't actually need that much of a BCD, especially on a single stage. So yeah, spend more money on your regulator than your BCD. When I first started diving, my focus was on the BCD because that's what you look at. That's what you're wearing. But actually now that I've been in the industry for a long time, I've been teaching, the regulator is far more important. So yeah, Harry, look at regulators more than BCDs. Dave Tolson asks, when are you expecting stock of the Marez Second Skin wetsuit, please? So the Marez wetsuits, they're just entering their new season. March, February time is when new products start to come out, and they change the design slightly. So it's in the pipework. They're on their way. I don't have any definitive dates yet. We put our pre-order in, so they're going to turn up sort of slowly over time. It should be more weeks than months. So very, very soon. John Durant wants to know, hi, I just got my new Typhoon Seamaster 3 from you guys. It fits perfectly everywhere, but the neck seal is really tight. I've got a rugby ball in the seal to stretch it. Does this work? Yes, the Seamaster 3 has a neoprene neck seal. So with that, you normally have glide skin on the outside as you put your head through. You then have to tuck that inside neck seal in, and that's what creates the seal around your neck. Yeah, I used to stretch neck seals over a 12-litre cylinder. It's a matter of don't go too crazy, because you can always stretch a neck seal or a cuff seal more, but you can't unstretch it. You might find that if you get to a certain point where you've stretched it too much, and then it will leak. So yeah, the rugby ball is a good idea. Anything about the size of your neck is what you're aiming for, and then just leave it overnight. make sure it's nice and clean, make sure it's nice and safe, and don't strain it too much, because as soon as you tear it, you need a brand new neck seal. But yeah, John, it's a nice wetsuit. The Seamaster is always very, very popular from Typhoon. Yeah, I used to teach with a neoprene neck seal. Yeah, they're nice. They're nice and soft compared to the sort of silicone neck seals or the latex neck seals, which can dig in at a certain point depending on which one you get. Latex neoprene tends to spread it over a wider area. Tiktan Chan wants to know, what's the opinion on Poseidon regulators? They seem to be a love-hate sort of thing. That is it exactly. I myself, I have a set of Cyclones. I love them to bits, but I'm quite old-fashioned in hearts. I also had a set of Extremes a few years ago. They're very, very nice regulators. Very, very few working parts. They, I mean, the Cyclones themselves, they came out in the 1950s, and the design has only changed a couple of times since then. Very, very nice regulators. The thing is with the Cyclones is they tend to be, or they're an upstream regulator. So this is back to sort of the original forms. 90% of regulators on the market today are what we call downstream regulators. So if something fails inside the second stage, it's going to give you more air than not enough. With upstream, they tend to restrict your airflow. So you need to be really calm. You need to look after your equipment very, very well. But they do give a very nice breath, and they're all horizontal. They're all reversible regulators. So it's very good for teaching. If I need to donate a second stage, doesn't matter which way up it is, I can always donate the regulator to anybody, and they'll always be able to breathe from it without getting a wet breath. I myself, I love Poseidon regulators, but yeah, it's a love-hate thing. They do make very, very nice equipment. Yeah, that's the industry in general, love-hate. And that's all the questions we have this month. Next month's presentation is going to be on April the 30th. And again, if you've got any questions, just pop them down in the question section below. Put them on our Facebook page, on our Twitter feed, or our Google+. Any questions you have, just let us know. And any kind of feedback that you have, especially about those t-shirts, let us know what colors you like, what styles you like. Just give us as much feedback as you can. We want to make stuff that you guys want to watch. So that was the March edition of Simply Scuba Live. Thanks for watching, and our next episode will be live on YouTube at 8 p.m. on Thursday the 30th of April. Thanks for watching, and safe diving.